Zenimax has dropped their latest expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online called Greymoor following a year of the Dark Heart of Skyrim. This expansion not only adds new areas to quest, but a new storyline following vampires, werewolves, and more. In this review, we go over what new additions have been added to the game, and what we thought of ESO's 4th expansion. Greymoor brings players back to Skyrim, or rather back in time, 1,000 years to be precise. In this era, Western Skyrim is under attack from a mysterious force, which will need to be uncovered to discover the conspiracy that lies underground beneath Blackreach. But you won't be on this journey alone, as you will be joined by a familiar face. Yes, Lyris Titanborn is back and will help you take on the Dark Heart that now infests the land. Unearth a tale that not only affects the Nords, but all of Tamriel as well. Greymoor is part of the year-long Dark Heart of Skyrim theme, which follows the HARROWSTORM DLC and continues the Greymoor Prologue chapter. There will also be 2 further DLC packs, the next one being a Dungeon DLC launching in fall, and a Story DLC releasing this winter, so it's safe to say your Nordic adventures won't stop anytime soon. You will meet a number of characters that include a warring king and queen, as well as the scrappy Svanna, who is determined to get to the bottom of these strange events. There is also Lyris, who is a fan favorite, and we are glad to see her return with Greymoor. If you're interested in vampires, werewolves, and other supernatural activities, then you will likely enjoy this expansion. This chapter of Elder Scrolls Online introduces a brand new system called Antiquities, which gives players a chance to gain some loot by going on treasure hunts. In order to find these antiquities, players will need to scry the items found by looting containers or from quest rewards, which will lead them to areas they need to search by following some clues. You'll be given a lead which opens up a puzzle minigame which requires you to use 4 different scrying skills to unlock, with the aim to use minimal moves available to unlock the highlighted empty tiles by connecting the different tile symbols. If you fail to connect the empty tiles, you'll be given more areas to look, meaning spending more of your time in search of the right area. For these areas, you'll need your Antiquarian's Eye to find the dig site. The next phase requires you to excavate in another minigame of dirt mounds, which you'll need to uncover to find where your rewards lie using tools. What's interesting about this is the main treasure you're digging for has its own HP bar, meaning you dig up bonus treasures but at the risk of damaging the main reward. These rewards can be anything from cosmetics to mounts, or even one of the new mythic items. They will also be broken into fragments, so you'll need all fragments in order to make the item. The new edition reminds me a lot of minigames that are in WoW, but this goes a little more in-depth with the excavation system and can give you some major rewards. Players who are interested in getting some mythic items will be grabbing their excavation hat to unearth these unique items, but you'll need to grind those levels in order to gain access to rare item leads. The mythic items come with powerful bonuses, but some also have drawbacks as well, and players can only equip 1 at any given time. Vampires have gotten a massive overhaul with the Greymoor expansion, and this means changes have made to the skill line itself, but one major change is that you now start off at Stage 1 Vampirism, opposed to Stage 4 in the old system. This makes a lot more sense in practice and encourages players to feed regularly if they wish to take full advantage of their vampire abilities. The change really adds to the fantasy of being a vampire as well, going out to feed in order to increase your vampirism stage, and the higher the stage, the less your vampire skills will cost resource-wise. You also get a cool animation that plays out when you drink from your target, which is similar to that of Blade of Woe. But using such a skill will now be a criminal act, so you'll need to be careful about where you drink from your victims, as any witnesses will mean you'll be attacked by a guard and gain a bounty. This change now affects overall gameplay in terms of convenience. While you will still use Bloody Mara, you will now use Purifying Bloody Mara to lower your vampirism stage by 1 if you fed and want to get rid of the effect, so you will now need to think actively about when to use these stages. For example, you might want to use some vampire skills in a dungeon, and this means you'll need to go feed before stepping into it. There is also the addition of Corruption Bloody Mara, which instantly grants you Stage 4, so you might want one of these in hand when you're in a pinch. Players should note Stage 4 has minus 100% health recovery, as well as increased fire damage, so keep that in mind. There is also the addition of HARROWSTORMs, kind of similar to Dark Anchors or Dolmens, as they spawn enemies and then a last final boss. These are instead the deadly storms that are being brewed all over Western Skyrim and can give some rewards as well. This isn't really a major addition, but it does provide some variation and can be fun to take part in, like dragon hunts that were added in the Elsewhere region. A new 12-player trial was also added with Greymoor called Kind's Aegis, where brave adventurers will face an army of sea giants led by a vampire lord. Throw a mix of vampire sea giants as well as half-giants, and you've got yourself an interesting time. There's plenty going on in this trial, including lightning bolts, totems with a number of effects such as poison, AoEs that can instantly kill the unprepared, and summons that will set a challenge. There's also the chance to fire ballistas, adding some interesting mechanics. One thing you can always rely on when it comes to Elder Scrolls Online content is the level of voice acting. It's always impressive and truly adds to the narrative of the game. My favorite characters include the brave Svanna, the defiant vampire Fenorian, and of course the return of the Fab Five's Lyris Titanborn. If you enjoy the dialogue and what the voice actors bring to the game, you will be happy with this expansion. Having Skyrim in this MMO is nothing but wondrous, and while there are of course differences between what is seen in the actual Skyrim game itself, being a different era and all, I think Zenimax did a good job into planting Western Skyrim inside of Elder Scrolls Online. What's also pretty amazing is the underground city of Blackreach, which is kind of a mixture of Darkshade Caverns and Clockwork City, and is a very amazing place to explore. That's not to say there hasn't been any visual glitches here and there, some textures going missing on roads, but Zenimax has been rolling out patches each week to help make improvements to the expansion, as well as resolve the initial growing pains, specifically during the chaotic nature of the last few months. Final thoughts. Greymoor is what most can expect from a nostalgic-filled expansion, but don't go into thinking it will be what you remembered from the Elder Scrolls V. ESO brings its own flavor of story involving vampires, werewolves, and more. Western Skyrim and Blackreach are one of my favorite additions to ESO so far, and the storyline is fun and worth taking your time to experience. If you like the idea of puzzles and grabbing that fossil brush, the new Antiquities system could be another way to spend your time in Elder Scrolls Online, especially if you're after those mythic items. While HARROWSTORMS don't seem all that different from other world events and dolmens, they do add some further activities to take part in to add a little bit of variation. Overall, the expansion adds a familiar feel with its Skyrim setting and has action-packed questing. There are some great new places to explore and puzzles with Antiquities adding some fresh content to the game. The puzzles are fun once you know what you're doing, and anyone motivated by the possibility of new motifs, furnishings, or those coveted mythic items will enjoy them. I like the fact they've added an active way to seek after items through an activity, rather than having them drop randomly from looting chests or barrels, for example. If you're making your way into Western Skyrim, be sure to drop by our Elder Scrolls Online wiki for all your adventuring needs. If you want to know all the changes with Update 26, be sure to watch our ESO Greymoor patch breakdown video.